Madison pastor's run-in with police this year leading to child sexual assault charges wasn't the first time he'd been put on law enforcement's radar. Investigative reporter Naomi Coles digs into a different case from 2 years ago, one where people who saw what happened were never asked about it.
My husband was out kayaking with our daughter.
Devil's Lake State Park, July 22nd, 2021.
Just swimming around, kids are playing in the water.
Tammy and her husband saw a man in the water holding a girl with several children nearby.
What made me really uncomfortable was the fact that you could tell his hand was on her bottom, but the way he was holding her and the way his hand was positioned, I feel like it wasn't just stopping at the bottom. You know, my husband would never hold our own children of that age in that position. And
You had to guess how old the girl was.
honestly, I would guess right around 9, 10, 11.
Father, we bow before you now. We thank you for your word.
Fast forward to 2023. Bob Stein, a pastor at Midvale Baptist Church in Madison and a leader at Kids Best Child Care, he's now facing first-degree child sexual assault charges. Tammy and her husband reached out to me several weeks ago after I published the story exposing that investigation into Stein.
The state has permanently revoked his child care license because of child safety violations.
When we saw your reporting in the article, I mean, I saw his picture and I just got goosebumps and my heart dropped. I was like, that's him. That's exactly who it was.
See, Tammy and her husband didn't just go home that day at Devil's Lake. They found a DNR warden and reported what they saw. Another family nearby did the same, and then silence.
Did any officer ever reach out to you and ask you the kinds of questions that I've just asked you?
None whatsoever. And we actually kept watching in the news, hoping that we would see something come from it, knowing that, you know, we saw something.
Citing backlogs, the DNR has not shared their own reports with me after I asked for them 6 weeks ago. But I do know from other agencies' reports that they called in Middleton Police to interview Bob Stein at his home mere hours after Tammy and others submitted their complaints. According to state records, Stein denied the allegations. No further actions were taken. There's no mention in state records of whether investigators tried to find a victim.
The very first step is going to be going out and interviewing the people who actually saw what they claim to have seen.
Former police chief and UW-Platteville law enforcement professor Pat Solar says interviewing witnesses should happen first.
We need to do our homework on these individuals before we even think of sitting down and interviewing them, particularly when we're talking about a serious case.
I sat down with DNR Captain Jeremy Plotz to find out what happened with those witnesses. He agreed to answer some of my questions.
When this type of complaint happens to the DNR, what's the best practice? What's the standard procedure that's going to kick in?
We're going to gather evidence, any evidence that's available. We're going to interview and take statements from, any available witnesses, potential victims, and suspects involved.
2 of the 3 witnesses that saw that in 2021 have come forward to me since I started this reporting and said they were never contacted for interviews.
I can't really comment on the specifics of the case in 2021. I can tell you that we did do an investigation. I'm confident that it was a thorough investigation, and it did not result in charges at that time.
But Bob Stein did face charges later. First-degree child sexual assault charges where he's accused of assaulting another child at his daycare. That case is ongoing, but it's severe enough the state permanently revoked his child care license, and Stein resigned from the church while maintaining his innocence.
I want to have a conversation with you on With the News.
No conversation to be had.
This year's charges are not related to what happened or didn't happen at Devil's Lake over 2 years ago.
Is a complete investigation done when there's no interviews of witnesses?
I'm confident that a thorough investigation was done.
An investigation that stalled hours after it started and left Stein still leading the church and a daycare until someone else came forward.
Just breaks your heart knowing that there probably is other victims out there.
Naomi Coles, Fox 47, News at 9.
And we really don't know if or how many other victims there may be out there. Over the years, Kids Best cared for hundreds of children. In the court records filed this year, it references the possibility of others.